seeing the underlying geometric framework of the mind of the Earth. And this is how it's been built, and this is what structures the continents the way they are. Look at how the coast of Rio de Janeiro here is pushed in by this node. Look at how the whole shape of South America is defined by the lines that surround it. There's many, many examples of this. This is the stretching pattern that the Earth makes as it expands. You can see island chains that are part of circles. Here's another island chain that's part of a larger circle. Just connect those nodes together. Look at the 2 points in the middle. It looks like cell mitosis. That's not an accident. Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. I was just informed that there was a UFO sighting right outside the building at the time that the cell phone went off. Believe it or not, but that's pretty cool. Well, thank you guys for showing up. Actually, there's a whole bunch of them on the ceiling here. Cool. All right. Hopefully you're a little bit less hypnotized now, and we'll get back into enough of a thinking mind that you can follow me. Can we prove the ancient sites harnessed usable energy? The Russian pyramids research holds the key. The Russians, after the fall of the Iron Curtain, had all of their military-industrial complex, all of their infrastructure, and they had the laboratories available to be able to build pyramids and study what they would do, and that's what they did. Here are actual photographs of the Russian pyramids. Check this out. These are enormous. These are little bitty, those little dots down there, those are people. Okay? So look at that. Look at the size of that thing. Here's somebody posing in front of it. Here's what it looks like on the inside. It's made of PVC plastic pipes with a fiberglass facing. Sometimes they were built near oil fields, as you can see here. Sometimes they were built out in the countryside. That's a smaller one. Here he is posing in front of it. Now, some very, very strange things happened when they did this. If they built one over an oil well, it would become 25% more productive, and the oil that came out was 25% purer. It would make poisonous chemicals no longer poisonous to the body. They would become safe enough that you could dump it on your skin or drink it and you were fine. I do not recommend that you try this. Okay? But that's what they said they found. Diseases would be cured, even cancer. It's an energetic phenomenon. They had white underbred mice, and they injected them with a toxin that would normally destroy them. If 60% of the mice died from the toxin in the laboratory, when they put those same mice under the pyramid, guess how many of them died? Only 6%. So 94% of all the mice injected with a lethal toxin that were put in the pyramids that they built here that you just saw didn't die. Up to 400% increase in the productivity of agricultural seeds. You throw these seeds into the pyramid, guess what happens? You grow the same plants, but now they're 400% larger and they got better fruit. Everything is better about them. So you can grow super seeds. Strong electrical activity. You could put a little voltage pile, a little battery on top of the pyramid, and it generates current. It's fascinating. Significant earthquake reduction. This is where you start seeing how the Earth's energy fields are related to severe weather and severe earth changes. If you build these pyramids, then guess what happens with earthquakes? You don't get a big giant quake anymore. You get a bunch of little ones that don't cause any damage. You also see an enormous column of energy hundreds of miles wide around the pyramid. This is not electromagnetic energy. This is the energy that the Russians can measure, which they call torsion fields or the time field. That energy column, that hundreds of miles wide energy column from one pyramid is enough to cause big storm fronts coming through to kind of go around it, like there's a big circle there. They just whoop, go right around it. It's crazy. It's been proven. What they also did is they took giant slabs of granite that they were going to use to build these jail cells in Russia. That's a lot better than an American jail cell, isn't it? Take these granite slabs, and they built 5,000 prisoner cells from these granite slabs, and then they watched these guys. They didn't do anything else to their environment. They didn't do anything else to their diet or their medication. Now, one could argue, well, maybe the prisoners were really happy that they had a nice granite, cell that they could hang out in. But that's not enough to explain what happened, because they had a profound improvement in their attitude and behavior, including substantial increase in addiction recovery from alcoholism and drug abuse. So all these prisoners that are living in these jail cells that were charged up with granite from the pyramid, that's all that it was, all their behavior starts improving because they're living inside a harmonic resonating chamber. The granite crystals have actually changed their structure. If you think about how you magnetize an iron nail, you take a piece of iron, right, like a nail, and you start stroking it with a magnet. And the more that you do that, eventually it becomes magnetized and you can pick things up with it. Well, we know that the reason why that works is that all the molecules in the iron are now going north to south in their electrical charge in the same direction. That's what starts to cause it to happen. So we know that you can do it to metal. You don't see anything different about the nail, but we know that it becomes magnetic because the atoms are changing inside. The pyramid does the same thing to crystal. You put the granite crystals inside, the crystals change. I don't have it in the slideshow here, but another thing they did was just to take a bunch of granite rocks and just throw them all over the floor and leave them there. And what they found was that if they came back after a few months, the granite is usually a reddish color. They came back after a few months and there were rings in the rocks that they just thrown on the ground, and the rings were whitish. The granite changed color. It actually changed from a reddish color to a whitish color in a ring. That's how much these fields change crystals and their actual structure. This proves when you get to the point of earthquakes and how earthquakes can be changed and reduced by the pyramids and how human behavior is improved by the pyramids. You just put the prisoners in those granite cells and they get much better. This proves that our consciousness is tethered to the Earth's consciousness. You harness the Earth's consciousness with the pyramid, which acts like a funnel for this energy. The energy that builds each molecule of the pyramid is an energy that is in you. So the energy that makes you who you are can be harnessed in the pyramid just by the fact that it's shaped that way, because there's an energy that flows into every atom in that pyramid. And if the pyramid is a perfect sphere, then it's going to all flow in the same way. But if it's a funnel shape, it's going to flow in with a directional current. That's all it is. It's a funnel. It's very, very simple. This proves a connection between our consciousness and earthquakes, a connection between our consciousness and severe weather, a strong likelihood that our consciousness is directly affecting the Earth. That's a very important point. Of course, the greatest pyramid of all is, not surprisingly, called the Great Pyramid. And we know that when you go inside the Great Pyramid, they have this sarcophagus that you lie in. And the ancient technique was that it would cause you to have this meeting with your shadow, a projection of your shadow. You go into an out-of-body consciousness, and you go into this other realm, which is time-space, as we would now call it. You encounter your shadow projection, and if you can heal yourself, which means if you embrace your shadow, you know, the best thing you can do if you're in a nightmare and something is chasing you and you're terrified of it, don't keep running. Stop running, turn around, say, who are you and what do you want? Don't be afraid at all. Get rid of the fear. And what you'll find is that if you're not afraid of it, you're going to start seeing it change. And the more that it changes, the more you'll see that it's yourself. And when you realize that it's yourself, you embrace it. And there's this huge flash of white light, and you have this amazing experience, and you wake up in tears. Many people have reported this. That's the integration process the pyramid is talking about. Except in the pyramid, it's so powerful that you literally come out with ascended abilities. You literally can do things that we would consider miracles, such as telekinesis, levitation, instant healing, telepathy, etc. Well, it's not everybody's experience. Napoleon went into the king's chamber. What do you think happens to a guy like that when he spends a night in the sarcophagus? This is what he wrote after it happened. He was absolutely terrified. He had a horrible night. He never wanted to go anywhere near it again. So I ask you this. When the apple fell in front of Sir Isaac Newton, was that the first time that gravity was working? No, it was the first time that someone recognized that gravity was working. Is this presentation and the science that we've been putting together recently the first time that anybody's recognized that this is working on Earth? No, right? Because of what? Pyramids, global grid, everybody built it on the grid. Why did they build it on the grid? Because they saw the apple fall. They knew there was an energy field responsible for that. Except in this case, it's not an apple falling. It's a consciousness rising. So have we seen the apple fall in modern times? And the answer is no. We're trying to explain everything on electromagnetic energy, and we don't understand that there's an energy beneath electromagnetic energy that's even more important. This really becomes a scientific validation of the idea of a higher power, that there is some divine intelligence that's more than just you and me in separated brain pans, and that's nothing else that's there. That's the old way of thinking. The new way of thinking is that consciousness is a field, and that field must exist through the whole universe because consciousness is the basic behavior of matter. So matter is not just in this galaxy, it's all over the place. It all seems to have similar, if not the same, rules. Therefore, consciousness is very likely to be everywhere. Now we're going to